Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to part 2, I guess, of this Mock Draft 4.0 episode here with the Dogs Podcast. Josh All alone. Again, your host for this one. I did Mock 4.1 on the last whatever split episode, however you want to say it. Or on this one now is 4.2. I appreciate you guys jumping over here and checking this one out. I want to compare these two mock drafts, like I talked about in the last one, together because there's so much debate right now about whether the Browns should go quarterback at 2, Shedeur Sanders, obviously, or go a different route, whether they go Abdul Carter, who is the betting favorite right now to go number 2 to the Browns, or Travis Hunter, who's the wide receiver cornerback. You know my opinion on it if you've watched the show. I feel like a guy like Travis Hunter would be too hard for the Browns to pass up. But today in 4.2, we're going to take Abdul Carter at pick 2 because that's the betting favorite. That's where if you're not a quarterback at 2 type of person, then you're probably an Abdul Carter at 2 type of person. And there's a lot of you out there. And while we believe that the Browns need to go quarterback with the second pick, it doesn't mean you're wrong if you want Abdul Carter. Obviously, if the Browns took him, we'd be happy about it. We'd be excited. It'd be a lot of fun to watch him with Myles Garrett on the defense. But, you know, we can talk about those types of things in the comments. There's obviously, you know, we have an opinion, you have an opinion. But there's really no wrong or right answer at this stage in the game. So before I dive into 4.2 here, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe on YouTube, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. We're doing draft night again, our 5th annual. I can't believe it's been 5 now. 5th annual draft night live, covering the first round for the first time in 4 years. I think we covered the first round the first year we did the podcast, and the next 3 we obviously didn't have a first round pick. And now we're back, baby. And not only do we have a first round pick, it is pick 2, so we do not have to wait 3 or 4 hours to figure out that the Browns are going to take Greg Newsome toward the end of the first round. So make sure you guys stay tuned and hang out with us that night on, April 24th, on that Thursday night. We will be live. But let's dive into this mock draft 4.2. Just to go back real quick, since if you did not watch 4.1, I encourage you to go back and check out that video or that episode if you're on the audio side of things, just to hear the breakdown of the picks and the thought process and reasoning behind it. But the recap, in mock 4.1, round 1, pick 2 went Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Pick 33 was Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. 67, Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa. 94, Oluwafemi Oladejo, edge rusher out of UCLA. 104 went to Ty Robinson, the defensive tackle out of Nebraska. 179, Joshua Gray, offensive guard out of Oregon State. 192 was Brashard Smith, running back out of SMU. And then 200, Dante Trader Jr., the safety from Maryland. 216 was Luke Lachey, tight end out of Iowa. And we wrapped it up at 255 with Francisco Mayagoa, linebacker from Miami. So obviously, this mock draft is going to look a lot different. There's going to be a whole different thought process going through this one, especially considering what I would say, not just the betting favorite for number 2, but what probably the betting favorite is for 2 and 33 for the Browns. So let's just dive into it and see what happens at pick 2. Like I said, you guys know the Browns are taking Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State, 6'3", 250, just 21 years old, young dude, elite level talent. I think his prospect profile, I think he might be the highest rated prospect in this entire draft based on the NFL, their Lance Zierlein's rankings. In 2024, he had 68 tackles, 12 freaking sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 pass breakups. The dude just can kind of do it all. He's a legit stud. And like I said, I know we advocate for quarterback at 2, but it doesn't change the fact that Abdul Carter might very well be the best overall player in this entire draft. He could end up being the best at his position out of everybody. So it would be a hard pick for the Browns to pass. I totally get it. Like if you're on the clock at 2 as a professional organization and this guy is there, it would be tough to pass on him. And like I said before, just because we would rather personally take a quarterback at 2 does not mean we would not be super pumped to have Abdul Carter in the brown and orange playing across from Myles Garrett. Like defense would be must-see TV. Offense would probably look like complete garbage because it's going to be Kenny Pickett most likely. But, you know, sometimes these things are just too hard to pass up. And I think it's important to go through this mock draft exercise in the event that the Browns do skip quarterback at 2 and go Abdul Carter. One thing to remember, he's got that stress reaction concern with his, I think it's his right foot. So whether or not he's going to need surgery or whatever, I mean, that could end up being a broken foot at some point. There is a little bit of concern there, but from, by all accounts, with all the analysts and everything, that is not taking him off of anybody's board at the top position, on defense. So with the Browns skipping quarterback at 2 and taking Abdul Carter, loading up more on that defensive front, the quarterback who's the most likely to be picked by Cleveland after that point, all eyes, my eyes, everybody should be watching Jaylen Milroe at 33, quarterback out of Alabama. And I know we have not been high on Jaylen Milroe on this podcast. Blake's going to flip his lid when he sees that I did a mock draft with Jaylen Milroe actually being selected by the Browns. He hates him. I was not high on Jaylen Milroe. And with all the talk about Cam Ward pretty much like 100% going to Tennessee, Shedeur Sanders being a little bit more of a question mark, whether or not he even really wants to be in Cleveland, whatever. I've started looking into the other quarterback options. And Jackson Dart obviously would be my third option, but I don't think he makes it probably out of the top 15, maybe not even top 10. We'll see. Definitely not out of the first round. And for everybody saying just take Carter and trade back up for Dart, I think you're going to have to trade up pretty high if you want Dart, and I just don't know if that's possible for the Browns. The guy who is possible, very possible for the Browns, is Jaylen Milroe. And the more I've looked into him, the more, film breakdowns I've watched on him, I'm really coming around. And I can do a video later on, a deeper dive, because I've got it all written up. I just haven't talked about it yet. But I've done deeper dives into Jaylen Milroe, and I actually like what he has to offer. He's the best athlete at quarterback by far in this draft. As soon as he enters the NFL, he'll be one of the top 5 athletes at the quarterback position. Probably better. I mean, he's better than Anthony Richardson. I mean, he's got the strong arm, but his speed and his abilities on the ground. Richardson's a little bit more, obviously he's big and fast, but he's a little more lumbering, a little more heavy runner, where Milroe's got more of that Justin Fields style of running, where it's just smooth and fast, and he can just evade everybody for a huge run. And the thing with Milroe is, from everything that I've watched and listened to from people breaking down his film, is just if he can fix his footwork, the dude has everything else mechanically and athletically to be a top quarterback in the league. He needs consistent footwork. He needs consistent weight transfer from, through his hips and from one leg to the other while he's throwing, all that kind of stuff. So he's not as natural of a thrower, obviously, like Cam Ward, who can throw off platform, different angles, all that kind of stuff. Jaylen Milroe, though, super strong arm. But let's break it down here. So 2024, he had a 64.3 completion percentage, 2,844 yards, 16 touchdowns to 11 picks. Not the best season. But 2023, and here comes the other connection to the Browns, he was coached by offensive coordinator Tommy Rees at Alabama, who is now the offensive coordinator, as you know, for the Browns. And he had a 65.8% completion percentage, 2,834 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions in 2023. So a much better year. I didn't put the numbers in here, but he racks up hundreds of rushing yards. He racks up all these rushing touchdowns. Jaylen Milroe, he's an intriguing prospect. He really is, because he's super boom or bust. And we know from earlier in the draft season here that the Browns like him. There was the quote from Jared Muller saying that it's not lost on the Browns how everybody playing in the championship weekend for the NFL playoffs, it was Jalen Hurts, it was Jaden Daniels, it was Josh Allen, now Patrick Mahomes. They say not the athlete that those guys are, but you look at those other 3 quarterbacks. What do? They got strong arms, and they can make plays happen with their legs. And Jaylen Milroe was listed as one of the quarterbacks that the Browns had on that list of guys who could potentially develop into that. Again, I'll talk more about Jaylen Milroe in the future, because there is a lot of momentum right now going after this. Abdul Carter at 2, Jaylen Milroe at 33. So we'll see what happens. But prospect profile, Milroe is an explosive athlete who is very capable outside the pocket, but he lacks accuracy, touch, and decision-making when he's inside the pocket. A lack of anticipation and timing leads to interceptions and contested throws to intermediate areas of the field. And one thing I was watching Kurt Benkert kind of break down his film, and he said immediately, I think it was the first snap of the game I was watching, he said, why has he got the box stance? He stands back, his feet are boxed. And he said, all he's got to do is offset. He goes, I don't give a shit if you put left foot up or right foot up. Offset your stance, and you can get into your drop quicker. And he was showing, like, from that box stance, he almost takes an extra step and a half to even get into his drop. And that throws off the timing and the rhythm and the accuracy because he's just not ready to throw the ball immediately. And I think if a coach can get a hold of him and correct some of that footwork stuff, and he's working with Jordan Palmer, quarterback coach right now. And I know I'm going a little deeper into Milroe here than I intended, but I've learned all this stuff about him over the last couple of weeks. And, you know, he looked shaky to end the season. Senior Bowl looked terrible. Came to the combine and it was like, okay, he's worked on some things. Went to his pro day and all the scouts there said he's fixed a lot of things already in that short amount of time, but he's been working all these months with Jordan Palmer working on those mechanical things. So he's working on it. If that stuff gets fixed, this could be a good pick. Easy, Blake. I know you don't like him. I'm just saying there is that is in the range of outcomes. Anyway, back to the profile. He has an NFL arm, but he might need to fine-tune his footwork. There it is. And his delivery to improve accuracy on all three levels. Milroe can get through his reads when he's confident and feels protected, but becomes predictable and easier for defenses to manipulate when he's rattled. He's built like a will linebacker. The dude is rocked up. Runs like a receiver and is a threat to hit the home run on called run plays and scrambles. Milroe was a much better deep ball passer in 2023 under Tommy Rees, but his 2024 regression makes it harder to project success from the pocket at a high enough rate to become a capable NFL starter. A strong arm and elite speed, though, will have teams intrigued. But if he doesn't make it as a starter, it's incumbent upon his team to find another way to get the ball in his hands with packaged plays. So, love him, hate him, interested, whatever. Just know that if the Browns do not take Shedeur Sanders at 2, that the next guy you need to be on the lookout for getting his name called by the Browns is Jaylen Milroe. 67, easy pick. He's still right in that spot. And I try to vary these mock drafts as much as possible, but when I'm going through mock draft database and I'm seeing who's available at the current ADP standings where the Browns are picking, this guy is at pick 67 right now as I'm recording this, and I just can't pass up on him again. So I'm taking Caleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa. Again, he was my 4.1 67 pick, and he's going to be 4.2 because he is a stud. And I know we all want Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and Marion Hampton and some of these other guys, but there's a real chance that Caleb Johnson ends up being one of the top 2 or 3 running backs to come out of this draft class. He is that good. I believe in him that much that I'm taking him twice here in my mock draft 4.0 series. Now, pick 94, a pick that I'm not so thrilled with. Again, this is not necessarily me making these picks based on what I want, but it's the pick that I believe in this situation Andrew Berry would make based on who's available around pick 94 at mock draft database and all that kind of stuff. So here at 94, the 30th pick in the 3rd round, the Browns take Tez Johnson, the wide receiver out of Oregon. So I'll talk about why I'm not big on Tez Johnson, but the Browns did bring him in for a top 30 visit. Again, you only get 30 of those to allocate to players throughout the draft process who aren't within, I think, 50 miles or something? Or I don't know, I forget. But anyway, so they bring in Tez Johnson. Profile says productive, high-volume slot receiver whose evaluation will include balancing the playmaking against his lack of traits. Johnson is thin-limbed with average suddenness and benefited from a scheme allowing him to run free in space. He's clever and instinctive with his routes, finding ways to uncover over the first 2 levels. His hands are below average and he struggles when contested, but he is tough to find and tackle quickly after the catch. Johnson's lack of size, strength, and NFL ball skills mean he's likely to profile as a good community target rather than succeeding independent of the talent around him. So we'll get to the size thing here in a minute, but ran a slow 40 at the combine. That didn't help him. 4.51, so you would think at 154 pounds, I mean, Guy, I weigh more than him. And I'm not a very big guy. I'm like 5'8". So he ran just a 4.5 140. The 154 pounds kills me. If you've been following us on social media, again, everywhere, all social media is at the Dogs Podcast is the handle. Go check us out. Give us a follow. But I posted, I think it was last week, whenever they brought him in for the visit. I was like, 154 pounds? I don't care about anything else with the guy. That's not going to succeed. Now, he was listed at 165 playing weight during the season, so maybe he cut weight, for the combine. I don't know. Either way, it didn't help him with his 40 time. But we have seen some success in recent years of these lighter, thin-limbed receivers having an impact in the NFL. Obviously, Devontae Smith comes to mind. I think he's at like 170. Tank Dell and Josh Downs might be around that 165 mark. But man, 145 is just a whole different animal, man. Like if the dude can get back up to 165-ish, okay, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not big on these. The height isn't necessarily as big a deal to me as it is to some people. 5'10" is a good height for me as a receiver. How close are you to 200 pounds? And what is your 40 time? What's your speed in correlation to that weight? Because if you're like 5'10", 200, you're a stocky, solid built receiver. But if you're running like a 4.4, cool, you can blaze. If you're running a 4.6, I'm not interested anymore. But I cannot knock Tez Johnson's college production profile. And this is why I think he could be very interesting to the Browns here at this pick if he's available. So let's go clear back to 2021. 67 catches, 735 yards, 4 touchdowns. Next year, 2022, 56 catches, 863 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2023, 86 catches, 1,182 yards, and 10 touchdowns. 2024, 83 catches, 898 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's just been a consistent target in his offense his entire career, which, you love to see that. It's much better than watching a 22-year-old have his breakout season. That's a little iffy, but when they're doing it at 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're doing it for their entire college career, that does bode well for their NFL prospects. He's got the early breakout age. He's got the early production, the things you look for with wide receivers. And the Browns do need a reliable slot receiver. We currently really don't have anybody. Was it David Bell, Jamari Thrash? Maybe here at 94, they grab a guy like Tez Johnson. Maybe their interest in him is very real. Obviously it's there. They brought him in for a visit, but maybe it's real enough for them to draft him. I know he stood out at the Senior Bowl, and guys who have good performances at the Senior Bowl, a lot of times they do have success in the NFL. So we'll see what ends up happening with Tez Johnson, but that's my pick here for the Browns at 94 here in Mock 4.2. This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order, and that code can be used over and over, so you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.
What's up, Browns fans? If you're watching this, you already know me as a host of your favorite Browns podcast, but what you may not know about me is that I'm also a licensed realtor here in the state of Ohio. So if you're local to Tuscarawas County or Stark County, or you just need help finding a trusted agent in your area, shoot me an email at agentblakereniker@gmail.com to see how I can help you reach your real estate goals.
Okay, 104, the fourth pick in the fourth round. I told you guys this mock was going to look a lot different than 4.1. In 4.1, we took Shedeur Sanders, number 2. Obviously, he's going to be your starting quarterback. Miss me with Kenny Pickett, miss me with the veteran starting, all that crap. Shedeur be ready to start by the start of the season. I believe that, especially for the Browns. We don't really have a whole hell of a lot of other options. This draft, by taking Abdul Carter second and then waiting and taking Jaylen Milroe at 33, it changes the complexity of the draft. And here's what we're doing at 104. We are taking Tyler Shuck, quarterback out of Louisville. 6'5", 225, 25 years old. He will be 26 at the beginning of the season, so he's a much older prospect than these other guys. But if you're taking a project quarterback like Jaylen Milroe at 33, it makes a ton of sense to draft a more polished prospect a little bit later on. Shuck is more polished than Milroe, but he's also nowhere near the athletic and talent level that Milroe has, the ceiling that Milroe has. So this would be a good 1-2 shot at the quarterback position. If you take a guy like Milroe early, you're going to have to take a Shuck later on. You're going to have to take a Kyle McCord. You're going to have to take a shot on Riley Leonard. One of these other quarterbacks projected later in the draft who's going to fall a little bit. You're just going to swing and say, hey, maybe this guy can be a good backup. And if, the guy we took earlier doesn't really pan out, maybe this guy will. You never know. At least you're taking a couple shots at the basket here. At some point, shot's going to fall, right? I hope. But anyway, so Tyler Shuck, pocket passer with a 7-year college career, thank you, COVID, prompted by 3 successful years of injuries while at Texas Tech. Shuck will turn 26 in September, like I mentioned, was in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence. Jeez, man, this guy he's been in college forever. He backed up Justin Herbert when he was at Oregon. This guy's been in the college forever. He's a talented passer with a live arm who is capable of making professional throws, both intermediate and deep, but he does battle inconsistencies. He plays with good field vision, uses his eyes to hold defenders and set up his throwing windows. Shuck is confident and accurate when he's protected, but he will flinch when pressure mounts, leading to some spotty decision-making and big-time sacks. His size and passing talent will be enticing, but durability and mobility concerns are impediments he will need to overcome. So again, he's a good second shot at the quarterback position to pair with your Jaylen Milroe, who, by the way, does not have the durability concerns that, like they said in his profile, built like basically a brick shithouse, and he's a tough dude. But anyway, so Shuck would be a good complement to that. The Browns did bring Shuck in on a top 30 visit, again, like Tez Johnson. So they're interested in Shuck if he's available where they see the value in the draft. So again, they decided to pass on Shedeur Sanders at 2. Makes a lot of sense. You grab 2 rookies. A little bit later this time, they both have some upside. They both have, you can hope, like I said, one of them develops into a starter. Or at worst, you get a reliable backup and you're shooting again at quarterback in next year. But for this mock draft, got to double up at quarterback, and it's Jaylen Milroe at 33, and at 104, we go Tyler Shuck. So obviously, we started off with a defensive player, Abdul Carter, and then we go offense. Time to kick it back over to the defensive side of the ball. This breaks Andrew Berry's trend. It's the latest he's ever drafted, his first defensive tackle, but we are going to address the D-line here at 179 with Cam Jackson, defensive tackle out of Florida. 6'6", 328 pounds. His write-up, massive nose tackle whose lack of productivity belies his potential to imprint on NFL games as a run defender. Jackson is a complete non-factor as a rusher, so his spot on a draft board will be relative to a team's willingness to take a 2-down player in need of polish. Pair this guy up. You've already got Malik Collins, and you've already got Mike Hall, who can rush the passer from the interior. Now we need somebody to help us in the run defense game, and Cam Jackson is that dude. He's long and plays with extremely heavy hands and an ability to overwhelm single blockers at times. When he's allowed to swap paint and focus on smaller areas of containment, he's a tough out. He gets knocked off his spot more than he should, but better block take on and technique should create better consistency for him. Jackson has freakish size and is a more enticing prospect when tape flashes are prioritized in the evaluation process. 2024, he had 37 tackles. He did have 2 sacks. Let's see, the last 3 seasons, the dude is definitely a tackling machine in the run game because he's had 41 tackles, 32 tackles, 37 tackles. He would be a good rotational big man child to kind of just stick in the middle of that defensive line, along with, like I said, Collins and Hall. Add him, you'd have Collins, Hall, Miles, and Abdul on the edges. And now you've got Jawan Briggs and a guy like Jackson in the middle of that line. I would say your defensive line upgrade mission can be marked complete. 192 in the 6th round, we are flipping over to the offensive side of the ball, and we are going to take Jake Majors, the interior offensive lineman, center out of Texas, 6'3", 306 pounds, 23 years old. Jake Majors is a short-armed, center-only prospect. He's technically sound and plays with poise and control. He's athletic enough to lead the charge around the corner and can get into the second level. He has neutralizing core strength, but that won't mean much against NFL two-gappers who can strike and control him when singled up. He's a coach's dream with a high football IQ. I've said this for a lot of guys that I'm picking for these mock drafts. High football IQ and operational toughness. He punches with inside hands and a well-balanced base to immediately stall early bull rush tries. Majors is smart, tough, and reliable with the potential to eventually become a starter. Get me this kind of guy in the 6th round. This is what I'm talking about. I want these high football guys. I want these smart, tough, reliable, strong players who can develop and become good starters for you eventually in the NFL. And for me, you take Jake Majors here, and the Browns get the guy that they hope can eventually be their starting center as soon as next year, here behind Ethan Posick. All right, pick 200 here at the end of the 6th, in the middle of the 6th round, because these are expanded with all these compensatory picks and things. But you guys know I cannot do a mock draft without taking a Buckeye. So come on, we got to take Jordan Hancock, the cornerback out of Ohio State. 6 foot, 195. He is a position versatile defensive back with good size, but average coverage talent. Hancock is strong enough to play near the line or on the back end, and his heaviest usage has come from the nickel spot. He's an above average tackler in run support and in space, but has average thump. He gets beat off the dribble and press man and struggles to make up ground quickly against shifty route runners. He does his job from zone by keeping catches in front of him and tackling quickly, but he does lack playmaking instincts. Hancock's size and versatility does help him, but he might not excel enough in the coverage phase to become a long-term starter. Again, we're here in the 6th round, so we're Cam Mitchell territory, Miles Harden. Let's get Jordan Hancock and see if he can kind of have a career trajectory, kind of what we saw here with Ronnie Hickman. Okay, moving on to 216. The last pick the Browns have in the 6th round, and we are going to take Chimere Dike, wide receiver out of Florida. I hope I'm saying that right. It's either Dike or DK, but I'm just going to say it how it sounds, or how it's spelled. 6'1", 196 pounds. He's probably about 23 years old. Again, could not find an age on him, but I bet he's a little older. He's a niche receiver with average hands, but good early speed to bypass man coverage and give life to the vertical game. So now the Browns got their slot guy in Tez Johnson. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got Cedric Tillman. Now you've got your deep burner who can blow the top off the defense. Dike is a 2nd and 3rd level receiver whose routes have the energy of a youngster on a playground with all gas and no brakes. He is an early separator with his speed, but won't see nearly as many free or schemed releases that he saw in Florida. He catches with downfield focus and good toughness when contested, but doesn't always play with catch-ready hands, which will lead to frustrating misses. He's more of a field stretcher than a volume option, but his talent for opening intermediate and deep windows could appeal to teams in need of speed. That's the Browns. We need speed. And even if he's just blowing the top off defenses to make everything easier for Johnson and Jeudy and, Njoku underneath, that's great. It sounds like the type of wide receiver that Andrew Berry would probably take a swing on this late in the draft. His numbers for last year, 42 catches, 783 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So here at the end of the 6th round, the Browns inject a little speed into that wide receiver core with Chimere Dike, the wide receiver from Florida. And to wrap it up, I don't usually get too excited about my pick 255s, but this time I am. At the end of the 7th round here, the Browns take Joshua Simon, the tight end from South Carolina, and I do like this pick a lot more than I like most of my last picks in these mocks. 6'4", 240 pounds, 24 years old. Simon is a 6th-year senior who spent his final 2 seasons at South Carolina. He possesses the speed and quickness to challenge man coverage and work into deep sideline pockets of the zone. He was frequently used on play-action drags and quick game throws underneath. That fits right into what Kevin wants to do. He was good run-after-catch talent, or has good run after the catch talent and makes an honest effort as a blocker. I like what I'm hearing. He lacks an ideal frame, but Simon's spike in production over the final 6 games of the 2024 season could help spark interest from teams looking for a pass-catching tight end with upside. In 2024, he had 40 catches, 519 yards, and 7 touchdowns. That's actually pretty good production for a tight end in college. And honestly, his entire career production, pretty impressive. I'm just going to go ahead and read through those real quick. So, 6 years in college. So at 2019 as a freshman, he's been good ever since he came into college. I don't know why he's being projected this late. I mean, I think Mock Draft Database even has him in the 300s, so he's clearly available at 255 for the Browns. But anyway, in 2019, caught 30 passes for 430 yards and 4 touchdowns as a freshman. The next year, 33 catches, 370 and 3. 2021 must have dealt with some injuries or something. He only caught 3 passes that year, but 2 of them were for touchdowns. 2022 comes back, 20 catches, 273 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2023, 28 catches, 256 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then, like I said, here in 24, 40 catches, 519 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Super impressive. And I do want to see what they're talking about with these last 6 games. I mean, it looks like he went, wow, damn. So against Texas A&M, who was ranked 10th at the time, I believe, 4 catches, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns in that game. Came back the next week against Vanderbilt, 3 for 40 and a touchdown. And then Missouri, 4 for 76 and a touchdown. Then Clemson, just 3 for 17. And then I'm guessing this must have been their bowl game against Illinois, 6 for 69 and a touchdown. Those are impressive, very impressive numbers for a tight end in college. So if Josh Simon's available at pick 255 in the 7th round, by all means, Andrew Berry, please add him to the roster. And that wraps up Mock 4.2. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Just a recap here. Abdul Carter is the pick at number 2, which leads to Jaylen Milroe being the quarterback selected at 33. 67 stays the same from Mock 4.1 with Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. 94 goes to Tez Johnson, wide receiver from Oregon. 104, Tyler Shuck, the second quarterback the Browns are going to take out of Louisville. 179 goes to Cam Jackson, defensive tackle from Florida, followed at 192 by Jake Majors, the center from Texas. 200 is Jordan Hancock, cornerback out of Ohio State. 216, the Browns take their speedster at wide receiver, Chamir Dyke from Florida. And at 255, they take who is quickly becoming one of my favorite sleeper tight end prospects in this draft, Joshua Simon, tight end out of South Carolina. Drop it in the comments, guys. Mock 4.1 was quarterback Shedeur Sanders first and how that draft developed after that. Here at 4.2, Abdul Carter first at pick 2 and see how it developed after that. Which one do you like better? Which players, are you kind of coming on about? Which ones are you like, I hope the Browns don't take that guy? Are you a Tez Johnson fan? Are you not? Are you a Jaylen Milroe hopeful? Are you a hell no Milroe kind of guy? So, or gal. Let me know what you think. Love hearing from everybody. Again, you guys are the best audience in the world. We're going to do a couple more mock drafts. I know Kenny Mack wants to do something where last year we did a battle royale mock draft where we went, pick by pick against each other and then posted it to see which one of us got voted the better draft selection. So we'll do that too here at some point. Tons of fun stuff coming from the Dogs podcast. I didn't mention this in 4.1, but I just want to wrap this up saying if you guys want to be part of our Dog Pack community, it's very simple. Go to jointhedogs.com, sign up on our Patreon page. It's just $5 a month to get in there. You get access to everything, the private Discord, the fantasy football leagues, every contest we ever do, which I'm sure we'll do something on draft night, you automatically get entered for just by being a Dog Pack member. So there's a lot of benefits to being in there, but most importantly, it's just a fantastic Browns fans community. They're diehards, but they're great people, respectful, and honestly, very smart Browns fans in there. The conversations that go on all day long, 24/7 are great. And we get a lot of good intel just about draft prospects from reading their comments and their discussions that we're having in there. So if you want to be a part of that, or if you just want to check it out, and if it's not for you after a while, after 1 month, you can just cancel. It's really no big deal. We don't take offense to any of that. check it out. I encourage you to do so. As soon as you sign up, we'll be greeting you, giving you a welcome, helping you sign up with the Discord, introduce you to everybody, and just dive in and start talking. It's like safe social media for Browns fans. It's non-toxic social media for Browns fans. It's a great community, great place to be. JoinTheDogs.com. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Have a great week. We'll be back with more episodes probably later this week. I know I've got Brian Bosarge from Draft Countdown coming on again this year. That'll be, I think I'm recording with him tomorrow night, so sometime later this week. And I'm trying to hook up with Blake too to do one for you guys as well. I'm sure there's more news coming for the Browns. Be on the lookout for this whole Brandon Ayuk thing. Are we going to sign Russell Wilson? What's going to happen? So we will be covering all again for the most up-to-date stuff at the Dogs Podcast, all the socials. That's where we are. Hope to see you guys in one of these communities in one form or another. Until I see you guys in the next one, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Bodden Sports. Browns fans, Bodden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Bodden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Bodden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Bodden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Bodden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Bodden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard game section of Bodden's website where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Bodden Sports, BADEN sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BoddenSports.com/dogs.